don't think he's that. Even when I sparred him, he's just like, he's just kind of a one-trick pony, one hard punch, tries to fucking dry hump you, gets tired, He's a real soft man. But, let's be honest, you guys.
You're not worried about his stand-up, are you? But more of the ground.
I mean, dude, here's the thing about 4-ounce gloves. When you're throwing those little fuckers, dude, anything could happen. It just how shit goes. So to say, oh, I'm not afraid to stand up, you're throwing a haymaker that touches you, it's going to suck. I'm not worried about everything. I'm worried about wrestling. I'm worried about stand-up. I'm worried about knees. I'm worried about fucking everything. But I truly believe I'm better than him, without a doubt. Cannot say how confidently I am. From everything I know of him, from all my experience with him, in the ring, out of the ring, I think he's a weak man, and I think I'm better than him.
Khamzat Chimaev is a dangerous man inside the octagon, and he's a dangerous man outside of the octagon. He's not someone that you would want to trifle with, okay? He's a bunch of Chechens. I see him all the time down at the Santos studios. They're very serious players. I also heard that the Chechen guys were running around Las Vegas looking for Sean Strickland, right? Wanting to bloody kill him. Okay, Sean might need to get some security. He's like, no, I don't care. I've got guns.
Sean Strickland looked into the camera and said the words that stopped the MMA world cold. He wasn't talking about a submission or a knockout. He was talking about a firearm. He told Khamzat Chimaev that if the Chechen pack tried to corner him in the streets, he wouldn't be throwing punches. He would be pulling a trigger. This isn't just pre-fight hype or a script to sell pay-per-views. This is a chilling descent into a territory where the sport of mixed martial arts ends and a very real, very dangerous street war begins. The line has been crossed and there is no turning back.
As a promoter on the promotional side, I would do everything I could to keep these guys away from one another, and especially keep their camps away from one another, because that's something people forget. These guys never roll by themselves, to Sean Strickland's point. This guy's gonna have a lot of people.
The tension didn't just evaporate after the stare down. It mutated into something far more toxic. Whispers began circulating through Las Vegas about groups of serious men from Chechnya roaming the strip, allegedly searching for Strickland's hotel. This isn't the typical bravado we see at a press conference where security guards pretend to hold fighters back. These are reports of real-world consequences involving entourages that don't play by the rules of the octagon. It is a powder keg situation where one wrong look at a buffet or a gym entrance could lead to a catastrophic headline that changes the sport forever.
I'm not Muslim. If I was a Muslim fan listening to this and hearing him speak, he's calling them, some crazy thing, and he's talking about prayer towels and stuff, I would feel some sort of way. So is the biggest issue Khamzat, or is it someone coming up to Sean as well? You're inciting a lot of harsh feelings in people by saying these things.
Strickland is a man who lives without a filter, but his latest targets have ignited a different kind of fury. He is calling Khamzat a weak man, a one-trick pony who only knows how to dry hump opponents until he gets tired. According to Sean, Chimaev is a soft individual who hides behind a scary persona, but it is not just the insults that are stinging. It is the absolute confidence in Strickland's voice when he says he knows who Khamzat really is from their time training together. He believes he has seen the breaking point of the Borz, and he is determined to expose it before the first bell even rings.
Sean Strickland mouthing off. You're going to have Chimaev retaliating. He's going to instigate Chimaev. Chimaev is going to react. Chimaev is going to get violent. Chimaev is going to... The press conference is going to start trouble. I mean, it's going to be such an entertaining pre-fight setup that I think Sean may jump the line.
Khamzat Chimaev is not just another fighter. He is a force of nature from a background where honor is everything. To him, the trash talk coming from Strickland's mouth is not entertainment. It is a direct assault on his identity and his people. Known for his relentless aggression and loyalty to his camp, Khamzat views any disrespect as a challenge to his very existence. He moves with a powerful, loyal entourage that views a slight against him as a personal affront. This is not a man you want to provoke with jokes about his culture, yet that is exactly the fire that Strickland is choosing to play with.
Nowhere else in the sporting world do you hear headlines like this, by the way. Nowhere else. You're not hearing anything like this in the NBA or the NFL. Sean Strickland says he'll shoot Khamzat Chimaev if he tries to jump him.
Yeah, it's a little strong. I gotta tell you, it's a little strong. And you wanna know why?
The promotional side of this matchup is a literal nightmare for the UFC security teams. Typically, promoters want to stoke the fires of rivalry to sell tickets, but here they are walking a razor-thin tightrope. The primary goal has shifted from marketing to containment. They are desperately trying to keep these two camps away from one another, booking separate hotels and managing schedules down to the minute. They know these men never travel alone. You are not just managing two professional athletes. You are trying to separate two entire ecosystems of passionate individuals ready to defend their own.
Because we know that Sean carries a gun. And we also know that Chimaev is known to travel in a pack. And we also know that Sean loves to build and promote a fight, and Chimaev isn't afraid to do his end of it. Like, my point is...
Strickland's casual mention of using a firearm to defend himself against Chimaev has taken the playfulness out of the fight game. In a country already grappling with such violence, hearing a high-profile athlete brandish his Second Amendment rights as a threat against an opponent is jarring. It shifts the narrative from athletic competition to a grim declaration of intent. The pundits are calling it a dumb move, questioning why a millionaire would risk his freedom and his career for a street confrontation. But logic often takes a back seat when ego and deep-seated animosity are the primary drivers of the conversation.
It's dumb, and like it, especially at a time when like one of our big problems in America is gun violence, and you have a guy out here being like, I'm so mad I'm going to shoot him, and people are expected to like sit around and be like, awesome, that's a great headline, let's go with that.
The cultural and religious dimensions of this rivalry are perhaps the most dangerous element of all. Strickland has made unfiltered comments about prayer items and deeply personal aspects of Khamzat's heritage. These are not just words. They are direct provocations aimed at the heart of a devout Muslim's faith. We have seen in the past how such rhetoric can ignite a fire that no amount of security can extinguish. When you poke at a man's religion, you are no longer talking about a sporting contest. You are inciting harsh feelings in an entire global community, turning a cage match into a battleground of convictions.
This being the way you build a fight, this being how you build the most successful fights in UFC history, is by crossing these lines, is by going to this extreme, is by making you believe, whether it's true or not, and in the cases that you mentioned, I do believe it was true, whether these guys hate each other. And if they saw each other on the street, that they would rip each other's fucking heads off. Or if they saw each other on the street, that Sean Strickland would be compelled.
The shadow of the infamous Khabib and Conor McGregor rivalry looms large over this event. That conflict proved that once you cross certain lines regarding family and faith, there is no going back to sportsmanship. Strickland seems to be using the same playbook, intentionally pushing every button to see if Khamzat will snap. It is a cynical yet effective recipe for pay-per-view success, but it comes with a heavy price. The theatrical violence that sells tickets risks spilling over into genuine harm long before the athletes ever step onto the canvas. The world is watching, captivated, and deeply concerned.
So guys, I generally don't post my location or my whereabouts. I don't really drop pins where I'm at. I just don't like to. But I was on Instagram, some stupid shit popped up in my feed about like Chimaev saying he'd try to fight me or kill me in the streets. Dude, I was like 10 minutes from your gym. I was dropping tags and locations all day on my Instagram. Your homies that train with you follow me.
Strickland is not just talking from a distance. He is actively seeking a confrontation. He recently took to social media to reveal he was dropping pins and sharing his location just 10 minutes away from Chimaev's gym. He was essentially daring the Chechen team to come and find him, claiming that their trainers and friends were already following his every move. This is a level of psychological warfare that borders on a death wish. He is turning the urban landscape into a hunting ground, challenging the very idea that anyone can intimidate him or force him to hide behind a security detail. The fear among officials is that a press conference will be the spark that sets off the explosion. With personalities this volatile, a single ill-timed comment or a physical gesture during a face-off could lead to a massive brawl involving dozens of people. We have seen water bottles fly and punches thrown in the past, but the energy surrounding this specific fight feels different. It feels heavier. There is a sense of behind-the-scenes dread that even the most seasoned security veterans might not be able to diffuse the sheer force of these two personalities if they decide to settle things early. Strickland's assessment of Khamzat's fighting style is equally provocative. He claims that in 4-ounce gloves, anything can happen, but he remains convinced that Chimaev is nothing more than a front-runner. He believes that if he can survive the initial wrestling onslaught, the Chechen fighter will crumble under the pressure. Sean is betting his life on the idea that he can tag him out and frustrate him until he makes a mistake. It is a high-stakes gamble against a man who has made a career out of destroying opponents in the very first minute of the fight. The clash of styles is as intense as the clash of words. For Khamzat, this isn't a game of tag or a quest for a viral clip. It is about defending his honor and the honor of his people. He sees Strickland as a man who talks too much and understands too little about the world he is mocking. In Khamzat's world, respect is paramount, and the lack of it is met with overwhelming force. The commentary surrounding the fight suggests that Chimaev is a dangerous man both inside and outside the cage. He represents a type of serious player that you do not want to trifle with. Yet Strickland continues to poke the bear with a smile on his face. The absurdity of the situation is not lost on those who analyze the sport. They point out the madness of risking a multi-million-dollar payday for a street fight that leads only to a prison cell or a hospital bed. Sanctioned violence is a lucrative career. Street violence is a life-altering mistake. Yet, the high-pressure cooker of elite combat sports often breeds a mindset where logic is ignored. When honor and pride are on the line, the financial consequences start to feel secondary. These men are operating on an ancient frequency of combat that most people will never truly understand. Strickland's audacity was on full display when he mocked the idea that he needed security. While others suggested he should be careful of the Chechen groups in Vegas, his response was a defiant shrug and a reminder that he is always armed. This bravado creates a terrifying dynamic where a simple disagreement could escalate into a tragedy. It forces the fans and the media to confront a morbid curiosity. Are we watching a sport, or are we watching the lead-up to a violent crime? The line is so blurred now that the promotion itself feels like a high-stakes psychological thriller. There is even talk of the UFC needing to implement extreme measures, like frisking fighters for weapons during official events. While it sounds like hyperbole, the reality of the threats makes it a legitimate consideration. Imagine the optics of professional athletes being treated like hardened criminals just to ensure a weigh-in can happen safely. It speaks volumes about the extreme landscape these two fighters inhabit. They have pushed the boundaries of fight promotion so far that the traditional rules of conduct no longer seem to apply. The organization is desperate to maintain control. The location of the fight adds another layer of complexity to the drama. Hosting such a culturally charged event in an area with a vibrant and passionate community means the atmosphere will be electric and potentially volatile. The ripple effects of Strickland's comments about religion will be felt deeply by the live audience. It is not just about two men in a cage. It is about the thousands of people in the stands who feel personally insulted by the rhetoric. The local dynamics could either help temper the animosity or provide a massive stage for the escalating drama to boil over. When you hear a fighter talk about a war that lasts for generations, you realize the sport has left the building. This isn't about a 3-round decision or a performance bonus anymore. It is about a blood feud that involves families, heritages, and a deep-seated need for retribution. Strickland's words about prayer items and cultural identity have turned a professional bout into a tribal conflict. Khamzat is not just fighting for a ranking, he is fighting to uphold the honor of his people against a man who seems to take pleasure in tearing those values down. The history of the UFC is filled with moments where they were caught with their pants down. From the Jones and Cormier lobby brawl to the post-fight chaos in Brooklyn, the organization has struggled to contain true hatred. This rivalry feels like the next chapter in that dark history. The promoters are trying to harness this raw energy for profit, but they are playing with a fire that could easily burn the entire house down. Every move they make, from hotel bookings to press conference seating, is a desperate attempt to prevent a disaster that feels almost inevitable. Strickland is the maestro of mayhem, a man who knows exactly how to prod and provoke for maximum engagement. He understands the cynical truth that the more aggressive and personal the narrative, the more people will pay to see it. But in Khamzat, he has found an opponent who does not view this as a marketing exercise. Chimaev is a man of action who reacts to disrespect with visceral intensity. This synergy of a professional instigator and a professional destroyer is what makes this the most dangerous pre-fight setup in the history of the modern era. The whispers of goons and crews are not just background noise. They represent a very real extension of the fight beyond the individual athletes. In many cultures, a fight is never just between two people. It involves everyone who stands behind them. If things go wrong outside the octagon, it won't just be Sean and Khamzat. It will be two factions clashing in a way that the sport has never seen. The stakes are higher than any championship belt, threatening not just the careers of the fighters, but the reputations and freedom of everyone involved in their inner circles. Is this calculated brilliance from Strickland, or is it a reckless disregard for the real-world implications of his words? He seems to believe he is in control of the chaos he creates, but the variables in this equation are too many. You cannot control the reaction of a man who feels his faith has been mocked. You cannot control an entourage that sees their leader being insulted on a global stage. The pursuit of viral content has pushed this situation past the point of no return, and the entire fight world is holding its breath as the countdown to the cage continues. The final confrontation is looming, and the air is thick with unspoken fury. The UFC faces the monumental task of getting these two men to the starting line without a pre-fight catastrophe. Every interview, every tweet, and every public appearance is a potential trigger. We are witnessing a war in the making, a psychological thriller that has transcended the boundaries of sports entertainment. Whether the fight actually happens in the cage or breaks out in a hotel lobby remains the biggest question on everyone's mind. The danger is real, and the explosion is imminent. Ultimately, this rivalry forces us to look at the dark side of our own curiosity. We are drawn to the spectacle of two men who genuinely hate each other. But at what point does the entertainment stop being fun? When threats of firearms and generational wars become the primary selling points, the sport enters a precarious ethical territory. We are watching two forces destined to collide, hoping for a clean event but bracing for an impact that could scar the industry forever. This is the raw, untamed reality of the fight game, where the price of ultimate engagement might be higher than anyone is willing to pay.